Okay, buckle in. We're looking at a very interesting World Cup stall game. It is the World Cup Bangladesh on the left versus India on the right. And the reason it's interesting, this is turning into a PP stall, but it becomes very, very technical. So hopefully I explain it. This is live right now. Hopefully I explain it before the game actually ends. But here's what you have. You have Latios with Ice Beam at 39% and Toxic. Will take Stealth Rock damage when it switches in. Ice Beam will KO Gliscor, but does not KO Tornadus. It does around maybe, we don't know exactly, maybe 50 to 60. And Tornadus outspeed Latios. So you have a Skarmory counter Whirlwind Spikes, which means it can't do any damage to Tornadus. You have a Clefable with Magic Guard, Thunder Wave, Stealth Rock, Moonblast, Soft Boil. Now here's the thing. Joris from Team India, he can essentially keep infinitely switching because there's no way for Skarmory to do damage to Joris. And then eventually Skarmory will run out of HP. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Parazoa cannot infinitely switch because eventually Skarmory will faint to Stealth Rock again and again and again. It'll take 12% of damage, and he has 85, and he has 4 roots. It'll eventually happen. It'll take a long time, but it will eventually happen. So it converges to a loss for Bangladesh if they can't do anything to the other side, right? So if Joris wants to keep infinitely switching, and Parazoa tries to infinitely switch back too, he can't do anything. He's just wasting PP. He's going to lose the game. So at some point, he wants to bring Latios in the game versus Gliscor. That way he can threaten Ice Beam. So he'll have to essentially make it predict. He'll have to predict Ice Beam onto... He'll have to predict switching Latios the same turn Tornadus switches to Gliscor. Then he'll have a free Ice Beam even though he's at low health. He'll have 1 free Ice Beam to go with. That's his idea. But obviously Joris isn't really going to let that happen. So for example, he can mix in U-turn, but he only has 12 U-turn. So right now, for example, Tornadus into Skarmory, you can... Actually, not right now is not where it matters, but right now, if he ever U-turns, he's going to run out of U-turn eventually, but U-turn is what he can use to deny Latios. For example, he can U-turn right now to prevent Latios from switching in on the hard Gliscor. But he has to be careful managing PP because if he U-turn, if he U-turns and nothing happens, he wastes a PP. But if he doesn't U-turn and they go hard Latios, then now there's a free Ice Beam coming in. And there's another complication, because if you U-turn into Rocky Helmet, that's out-damaging Stealth Rock. Right now, Torn is healing to 100 because Stealth Rock does 25 and Regen does 33. So this kind of cat and mouse game. Eventually, Parazoa wants Latios in the game to Ice Beam, and he wants it on Gliscor, because otherwise it's going to converge into a loss for just endlessly switching. And meanwhile, Gliscor has Swords Dance, Ice Fang. Ice Fang does 17% to Skarmory at after a Swords Dance, which isn't a lot. So you're going to see this infinite switching here. And if that was hard to keep up with, hard to understand, let's look at it live to get a better idea, right? Skarmory into Gliscor. Gliscor can't do anything. Skarmory can't do anything to Gliscor. You always go Torn here. There's no reason not to go to Torn, right? No reason not to. They go Clefable. Now you have a choice. Do you U-turn to prevent the switch to Latios? Or do you go to Gliscor immediately to save your 11 U-turn PP? What do you do? So you have that choice here. What do you want to do with it? Clefable is going to run out of Soft Boiled eventually, going to run out of Moonblast eventually. You go hard Gliscor, they go hard Skarmory, and notice Skarmory is losing HP for really no reason. It's going to have to roost here. Gliscor can chip it some more with Swords Dance, Ice Fang, or you can go back to Torn. Again, Torn can do whatever it wants here. Heat Wave, U-turn, doesn't really matter. But you have to preserve U-turn PP, so you don't want to do that. You want a Heat Wave, you want to knock off. Yeah, it doesn't really matter here. Actually, what you really want to do is you want to knock off that Rocky Helmet, but the Skarmory should always switch out of Torn to prevent that from happening. So Skarmory again. So for example, he could have gone to Latios on that turn, but it would have been risky because you don't know, because Tornadus has U-turn, right? Clefable back in. Again, you have a choice. Do you U-turn? Do you hard switch? What do you do? Meanwhile, Skarmory only has 2 roosts left. So everything's running low now. See, no U-turn that turn. Now, what does Latios do? Does Latios hard switch in? Does Gliscor Ice Fang predicting maybe a hard switch? What happens here? So, actually, I think you can just, you roost here. Clefable, what does it do? Moonblast, yeah. Now, Clefable can't infinite Moonblast because it's going to run out eventually, right? So it's this really intricate cat and mouse game of trying to get Latios in and keeping Tornadus healthy. Because Ice Fang Ice Beam does not KO on Tornadus, but I'm not sure if how much it actually does. Do we have any logs of what Ice Beam does? Latios Mega, let me check. It did 57. Latios Mega's Ice Beam did 57 to Tornadus. So it basically, I don't know if you guys remember the Telly ABR game where it went to 1,200 turns. It was this type of intricate switching scenario where every switch is happening and it looks like you're just going in a loop back and forth, but there is actually motivations behind what's going on here. So again, Clefable into Tornadus, you have the option. Do you U-turn to deny the Latios switch in? Or you just switch to preserve your 11 PP? Into Gliscor now, Clefable at 3 Moonblast here. We're already at turn 195. Realistically, I think this ends pretty soon, maybe turn 250-ish, probably, because you're running low on Roost here, and Skarmory has to keep switching in. Yeah, Skarmory is in. It's going to have to Roost now. You're already draining it down to one more Roost here. You kind of have to Roost. So this endless looping is going to happen, but it finishes eventually. I'm probably going to cut the video to when that happens, but you can get the idea. Skarmory only has one Roost right now, turn 199. And from Jors, you have to be careful. You can't get too greedy. You can't Heat Wave into Clefable, because if they Moonblast into you, you've taken more damage than you can regen off, and that makes you a little tricky versus Latios. So you have to be disciplined here. You can't get greedy. You can't make a mistake. It's 200 turns in. You can't, you know, play a little loose and then make a mistake. So U-turn was fine there. He could have Heat Wave to predict it, but it would have been too risky. It's much better to simply U-turn out. The main thing here is that Joris has infinite HP with regen and poison heal. Infinite HP means you're never, you don't converge to a loss. Meanwhile, the Skarmory is converging to a loss because of that infinite 12% chip every single time. Tornadus switching into Skarmory, Clefable coming in. Skarmory being out of Roost means this game will end within the next 50 turns, I think. U-turn, okay, tripping down Tornadus a little bit. And he got the Latias. He got the Latias switching into Gliscor. Now, Torn does live the Ice Beam, but we find he got the play right. He got Latias in at the exact time Gliscor in. He predicted no U-turn. Let's see if the Latias can do what it needs to do. It can Roost now, so you have to go to Torn. But he got the play right. Skarmory is low too. You do Roost. He predicts Roost, gets the Ice Fang, 21, more chip damage. And if he lost Gliscor, for example, then he loses to, you know, Clefable. He doesn't lose to Clefable, actually. So maybe he can lose Gliscor here. He predicted Roost, because Torn would be able to switch in easily, but if Latios gets out of jail, so to speak, you're in trouble. You want to keep Latios low on HP. So he gets the predict right with Ice Fang there. Does he do it again? Does he get another Ice Fang into Latios as it's roosting, or does he go to Tornadus here? He goes to Torn this time. Roost doesn't get that predict right, so now Latios is out of jail. It's healed up to full. Essentially full. Now you go back to Clefable. Tornadus has to probably knock off, or it can U-turn really. Knock off. Now, Clefable threatens T-Wave too, but the key thing is that Latios is out of jail right now. 69, it's not ready to die anymore. Skarmory in. U-turn, a little more chip damage. Now you always go hard Tornadus here, no reason not to. Oh, Swords Dance, okay. Trying to attack now. Now, the Latios should OHKO with Ice Beam. Let's run a calc real quick to see if that's guaranteed. It should, though. It's very likely it does, right? Yeah, Ice Beam is, according to the calc, it's not actually guaranteed, by the way. At 100% HP, it's not guaranteed. If it's maximum Spit F Gliscor and 0 HP, 0 special attack Latios, but we don't know the EV spreads here, so we can't comment. Yeah, see, he's intentionally not knocking out the Gliscor here, because if he knocks out Gliscor, then Latias comes in for free. So he goes to Tornadus now. Now you have to Heat Wave here. Or you can even go hard Gliscor, actually. You can go hard Gliscor here. Just to farm a little more regen. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. So, Skarmory can be sacrificed, and then they go to Latios immediately. So you could go Torn on the Skarmory sacrifice, but they could predict that and T-Wave you as you go to Tornadus here. They can T-Wave right now. Okay, Swords Dance. Yep, he tried to do that. He tried to do that. Now, the Skarmory sacrifice has to be coming in at, some point. Yep. Okay. Swords Dance again. Now, Latias in Tornadus can live one Ice Beam, but it's looking bad now. It's looking bad. Oh, it lives! The Gliscor lives Ice Beam. I said that could happen. I didn't think it would happen, but I said that could happen. And now Gliscor beats Clefable here. After all of that maneuvering, 230 turns of maneuvering, Gliscor lived the Ice Beam anyway. And now it's just going to pick up Clefable. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure to subscribe if you're new. If you want to see more of this type of live coverage of games, it's actually, I kind of get bored when talking about games, but the reason I picked this one is because it was a very interesting endgame, and I thought it was worth talking about. But let me look at the standings here. So India and Bangladesh, where India's going to win here. So there we go. And that means India moves to 4-0, and Bangladesh moves to 2-7 right now. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time.